Good stuff out of Florida. Normally, I'm just taking little, jabs at Ron DeSantis. It's just mostly the cult around Ron DeSantis, because him specifically, he hasn't really said anything objectionable. I'm sure he's just really banging hard on a bunch of the TradCon talking points, but the ones that he is, well, I'm definitely on side for. So everything's been good so far. And then I see a law like this or a bill like this, and I just can't help but think, are you going to also repeal the other bad law that's on the books right now? But first and foremost, there's a win. There is a win that can be had, and especially given the fact that there's a supermajority in both the House and the Senate in Florida. I think that's the case. I'm pretty sure there's a supermajority in the House. Not too sure about the Senate. Might have to go and double check that. But it's basically going to pass regardless. The Florida bill could hand gun owners a huge win. Make the U.S. a constitutional carry majority country. What do we mean by that? It will be free to conceal carry anywhere you go. Anywhere you go, you can be strapped and locked and loaded as the Second Amendment bestowed upon all American citizens. God bless America. I see nothing wrong with this. It's number 2 for a reason, okay? The legislation has the support of the NRA. Who cares about the NRA, okay? If Eliza Blue's a grifter, the NRA is that institution. And Florida Sheriff's Association. Well, that's a little bit better. Florida lawmakers introduced legislation on Monday to allow people to carry a concealed firearm without having to get a government-issued permit, as it should be, your God-given right. A move that could make the majority of U.S. states permitless carry territory. And yeah, we got a little map. I got a little handy map that's right here, and it shows the different constitutional carry states as of right now. Obviously, that one right there is going to flip, okay? It says it's illegal right now, but it's soon to be not illegal. And then I'm taking a look at some of the other states. It's like, okay, New York, it was for a second, but then new bills came in, and Democrats just hate fun, okay? So that one's gone. Maine, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania. That's interesting. They seem to be outside. Well, actually, Philadelphia is a pretty, handgun enthusiast city, but on the legal side, not so much. But the rest of the area, especially like countryside, they're pretty down with that. Same with New Jersey. Well, actually, just apply the arguments ascribed to Philadelphia and then just apply that to Jersey as well. Connecticut, yeah. Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. I could see that changing, especially with, what's his nuts there? Glenn Youngkin in charge, and all three top positions, the AG, the assistant governor, and the governor himself, all being Republican. And I think that there's majority, even before, back when old Governor Blackface was in charge, I think it was a Republican House and a Senate. I think that's the case now still, so that's likely to change. But then I take a look at the Carolinas, it's like, the hell's your guys' problem? I would have swore those were places that had constitutional carry, and Louisiana was wrong with that, okay? The rest of the states out west, like, that makes sense. Up and down the west coast, okay? They're more concerned about getting needles and arms as opposed to exercising your God-given rights. But then the Midwest, Wisconsin and Michigan, Illinois is a lost cause, but Michigan and Wisconsin. Michigan, yeah, okay, they kind of like to be cucked, I understand that, but Wisconsin, all that farmland, and you guys don't have constitutional carry? That's wild. Colorado, the exact same thing. Nebraska, that makes no sense. And Alec Baldwin down bad, given the fact that New Mexico isn't constitutional carry. Oh well, guess he won't be going back there anytime soon. So our right to bear arms, of course, is enshrined in the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. Republican State Representative Chuck Brannon said during a press conference in Tallahassee. The bill that I file later today continues to advance Second Amendment freedoms through legislation known as constitutional carry. I believe Floridians have the right to bear arms and protect themselves, their families, and their property without government interference. By God, music to my ears. This bill is a big step to help the average law-abiding citizen to keep and having to go through the hoops of getting a permit from the government to carry their weapons. Exactly. Like, in order to purchase a firearm, you still need to go through background checks. All this does is just cut the government out of another needless fee placed on the made a burden of just your rank and file citizen who wants to exercise his rights. So this is a good win, and this is a very winnable position for a lot of Republicans that are out there, especially in the places that I outlined earlier. Brandon introduced House Bill 54321. on Monday, alongside Florida House Speaker Paul Renner and a handful of law enforcement officials who lauded the legislation as a step further protecting law-abiding citizens. Yeah, exactly. Hey, man, if we got constitutional carry out here, a good guy stops a bad guy with a gun, and we don't have to turn up and beat no black folks to death. We'd love to make sure that happens. Anyways, criminals are getting guns anyway, Brandon said. Exactly. Breaking into houses, they're breaking into cars, and they're breaking into everybody. So make sure to lock the doors, lock your wife, lock your sister. No, anyways. And they're carrying guns illegally, he added. They don't care what the laws say. Exactly, because just these stringent laws are just going to affect the people that are obeying the laws. Just because you don't have constitutional carry right now doesn't mean that there aren't people walking down South Beach in Miami that aren't strapped. Like, come on now. We are only giving our law-abiding citizens a simpler way to have the ability to protect themselves, their families, their homes, and their places of business. And we'll just read the rest of this before I just tangent off into what I wanted to say as well. The bill would allow lawful gun owners in the state to carry without asking the government for a permit and without paying a fee. Great! It's almost like a de facto tax reduction for anybody who owns a firearm. Those who wish to still obtain a permit can do so if the bill becomes law. The bill would also not change who can and cannot carry a firearm. That's where I have a problem. I see this bill that's out here, and it's like, that's a great thing, man. Constitutional carry is a wonderful idea. I haven't seen any sort of evidence that says, oh, more shootings are now up in constitutional carry states by people that lawfully acquired their firearm and then just decided to use it in an unlawful manner. Haven't seen those numbers pop up, likely because they don't exist. But hey, I could be completely wrong on that. Just haven't seen any of the evidence. I just know that there's another law that's on the books. And yeah, just because they want to do this one, okay, they want to get rid of some bad law by passing some other law. It's the messy business. But while you're in there and while you're making some firearm changes, I have a recommendation, because there's another law that's on the books in Florida, and it's one of the most nefarious ones that are out there. And it was passed by everybody's favorite Lord DeSantis. I want to see this gone, because Florida's red flag laws, yo man, they're some of the worst that's in the nation, in fact. And red flag laws in and of themselves are incredibly unconstitutional, because it's basically a Me Too designed specifically to make sure that you can't protect yourself. Prove me wrong. So in response to the 2018, and here is a wonderful example of bad legislation being a predicate to an emotional response. In response to the 2018 shooting at Marjorie Stone, the Parkland shooting, Nicholas Cruz, the guy who didn't get the death penalty because there's one lady who was up in her fields. Oh, we can't do that to a kid. Oh, okay, so instead you'll just keep him behind bars in a maximum security penitentiary for the rest of his life. That's far more humane. Okay, the state enacted a red flag law that allows judges to order potentially dangerous individuals to surrender their firearms. Sorry, what? That's government enforced confiscation just because somebody ends up feeling a certain way. I don't like that. And it's still on the books. 5 states have some version of red flag laws. We're going to be moving into a history in 2023, by all accounts, where you're going to have a majority of the country having constitutional carry. Here's the map one more time. Just about half of the country, even if you just condense it so it's a little bit more appropriately sized, basically a vast majority, okay, what would that be, about 80% of the geographical country has constitutional carry, but 5 states have red flag laws, including Florida. That has to be done away with. This law was applied more than 3,500 times from its implementation in 2020, although some counties use it far more frequently than others. Probably Broward, Miami-Dade. Just thinking, man. So what is it and why is it important? Ugh, I hate it. I hate it so much, because you probably heard about red flag laws beforehand, but do you know what red flag laws are and how easily they're implemented and who they affect directly? I hate it. I hate it so much. Supporters of gun control law state that before it existed, the process to remove firearms from individuals making threats or suffering from severe mental breakdowns was a difficult one. Of course, I'm in my feelings. It's difficult to get firearms away from people that I don't like, so how can we make it into law? Make thought crimes prosecutable. Although investigators failed to act on reports that the Parkland shooter was threatening to carry out a school massacre. Oh, he was threatening to the police, or to the public school officials who were also complicit in, what's his nuts there, Ethan Crumbly in Michigan. Okay, cool. I see a pattern there, but what's the ultimate through line? What was their response? Yeah, we just need to start taking away firearms from people who display objectionable emotions. Yeah, more rhetoric surrounding that. Critics of the law argue that it violates the Constitution of the United States and of Florida, primarily the right to bear arms, and also the whole weird situation where you're prosecuting somebody and you're restricting their rights on the basis of some Karen. Interestingly, a Supreme Court case decided last May raised constitutional concerns around red flag laws. Yeah, exactly, because they have no basis outside of, I think he's like basically an abuser, but like, I don't know, but I'm scared, so you need to take his guns away. So, how do they work? How do they work? Florida's red flag laws, codified as Section 790.401 of the Florida statutes, after the safety issue is raised. So after a safety issue is raised, the first step in the process is a law enforcement officer or law enforcement agency filing a petition for a risk protection order. So what is that? Let's just take the basic example, and something that happens far too often. After a breakup, after a divorce, or during the proceedings of a divorce, rather. Okay. Lady places a phone call knowing that their, former partner, their husband, their boyfriend, their sugar daddy has guns in his house. She can just go ahead and say, well, I feel a certain way, and he got violent with me, and I've been slapped before. And then all of a sudden, that person, because he decided to exercise options, now doesn't get to exercise his Second Amendment right. Allege that the respondent poses a significant danger of causing personal injury. He said he was going to kill me with his 8mm AR-15. It's terrible, right? And I know guns. Of causing personal injury to himself or herself or others by having a firearm or any ammunition in his or her custody or control, or by purchasing, possessing, or receiving a firearm or any ammunition. So you might be a problem if you have a firearm, so we should just go ahead and take those away from you. You might be a problem. Okay, and must be accompanied by an affidavit under oath stating the specific statements, actions, or facts that give rise to reasonable fear or of significant dangerous acts by the respondent. And how can you disprove that? Well, I felt that way, and he said that. And if it's a non-recorded interaction, like the Daily Wire would have you to believe, that's a breach of confidence, and I thought you were my friend. If you don't do that at all times, that vindictive individual could get your firearms taken away. And this is precedent law. This has been exercised a multitude of times, 3,500 times in Florida since it's in action in 2020. Identify the qualities, types, and locations of all firearms and ammunition and the petitioner believes to be in the respondent's current ownership, possession, custody, or control. So yeah, just tell us how many firearms they have, even though we probably know, given the fact that you have to run a background check for everybody who purchased a firearm. Anyways, identify whether there are any previously existing protection orders. Statute requires the petitioner, in this case law enforcement, to make good faith effort. Good faith, yeah, right. Hey, we're just going to trample all over your rights. It's just in good faith, though, to provide notice to the family or household member of the respondent and any other known third party who may be at risk of violence. So the cops are just going to come in, snatch all your guns, not give you any information. It's like, nope, you were said to be a threat to somebody, and we're just here to minimize that threat. Notice must state the petitioner intends to petition the court as a risk protection order, or already has and must include referrals to appropriate resources, including mental health. So now you just need to go in for brainwashing. You need to have right think put into your head. Domestic violence, see, there it is. Those are the easiest claims to get underneath of this. And counseling resources. Upon filing a petition, the court must order a hearing and be held within 14 days. So you can just go ahead and snatch up your guns for 14 days and never give them back. During the hearing, the petitioner tries to secure a risk protection order to allow the respondent's firearms to be removed. This hearing allows for hearsay testimony under oath. Hearsay testimony. Oh, cool. So theoretically, you could have somebody petition to have these red flag laws enforced against somebody. They could make a phone call. They could text somebody. Oh, he said he was going to do this, and then just use that as evidence. Can you believe this? Provide your own receipts without any verification at all. Recent act. Oh, okay. So here's the evidence that's allowed to stand in Florida. Unbelievable. Recent acts or threats of violence by the respondent against himself or herself or others. An act of or an act or threat of violence by the respondent against himself or herself or others that occurred prior to 12 months. And all of this can be hearsay. Holy. Evidence of the respondent's mental illness or mental health issues. Oh, he gets angry and then he drinks. How do you prove or disprove that? Doesn't matter. A violation of risk protection orders or no contact orders, previous issued or existing risk protection orders, previously issued or existing risk protection orders. So if somebody does this a couple of times and the second time, then they're just gonna, oh, okay, cool, you have a pattern here. Well, none of them have been enforced. Oh, well, we're just gonna take your guns this time. Previous instance of crime involving domestic violence, previous threats of the use of firearms against himself or herself or others. Previous threats. Oh, okay, cool. Can those also be hearsay? Previous unlawful or reckless use, display, or brandishing of a firearm. How do you even prove that? So if somebody has a Facebook picture of, hey, take a look at the new gun that I have, you posted that out there for public consumption. That's reckless and dangerous. You're trying to glorify glorify violence. I'm trying to make one new word there. Corroborated evidence of substance abuse. Corroborated evidence. Yeah, he gets so drunk at parties. There was this one time he got drunk. That was his 21st birthday, you weirdo. Previous instance of a crime involving violence or a threat of violence. It's all of these nebulous terms. Evidence of recent acquisition of a firearm or ammunition. Sorry, what? I recently bought a new gun and ammo, and that would be really bad if, you came and took all of that, confiscated it, stole it from you. Government enforced thievery. Any other relevant information concerning a significant danger to the respondent and others, witness testimony relating to the matter taken while the witness is under oath. Yeah, but people don't lie under oath. Like, come on now. Defying a red flag law can pose serious legal repercussions. A respondent who violates the term of the risk protection order faces a third-degree felony. Third-degree felony. Punishable by up to 5 years in prison and up to a $5,000 fine. In 2019, a Broward County jury took less than an hour to find Jerron Smith guilty of violating the state's red flag laws when he refused to surrender his weapons to law enforcement officials. They came and knocked on the door, don't even know the validity of this risk protection order. He's like, go to hell. You guys can beat it. I'm going to keep my guns. And they're like, nope, you're going to jail. The risk protection order was initially filed in 2018. So in 2019, they showed up and, that's when he had his freedom deprived from him. How awful. Initially filed in 2018, Smith was accused of shooting at a car during an argument. Well, that should be pretty easily provable. What about the rest of those individuals who were deprived? Okay, the 3,499 other times that this was implemented. Get rid of this law, Ron. Okay, you want to do constitutional carry? Bet. Get rid of your red flag laws, though, because that would actually be a huge win for gun owners. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I'm Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.